Hello YouTube, welcome back. It's late September 2023 and this is my 5th annual macadamia farm market review. And it's my most difficult one, I'd have to say, because while there are big changes in the market for macadamias and the macadamia price, not too many farms have changed hands. And for those of you who are new to the channel, having found it via Google or whatever, there's been a big drop in the macadamia price, one that we think we're about to start recovering from, and we don't know entirely where the prices will go because they tend to come out each March or late February. Anyway, the drop in the macadamia price made the crop a little bit unviable for most farmers in the 2022-23 season. And I thought that would have some impact on macadamia farm prices. But we have very few sales to go by. This farm you're looking at is actually one of them. It's about 16 hectares. It's got about 4,000 trees. No home. It's actually got a shed. But that's sort of the acreage we're talking about. And Dorreby, which is where I am, nice little village, not to be confused with Dorreby in All Creatures Great and Small, which was in Yorkshire. This feels like anything but Yorkshire, with a temperature of about 30 degrees at the moment. But the farm looks okay. There's this variable row spacing. The trees look okay, and you know, with 4,000 of them, if they were performing well, it would be quite a nice little producing farm. You know, the land isn't overly hilly or anything like that, and it does look like the trees are quite solid. You probably would have expected more than 1.5 million, which is what this place went for, just over around 1.5 million in the boom times. Perhaps it sold for a little less because of the macadamia price drop, but then it's hard to compare because you've only got the shed, which you see over there, rather than a full house and other amenities that you could sort of come and live in. So that's an interesting point of comparison, tending to suggest that prices may have dropped a bit for macadamia farms. But let's not stop there. Sorry, I have to correct myself. That last place in Dorreby went for 1.225 million. I've come now to the next town along, Dunoon, much more famous for macadamias. And this particular property on Fletcher Road sold last October for 2.45 million. It only has about 1,000 more trees than the first property I showed you, so it's about 4,700 trees. But it's over a much larger block of land, about 44 hectares, as opposed to the 16 odd hectares in the first lot. And that probably accounts for the price difference, because neither of those properties has a house. They both have a shed. That could be it over there, I suspect. But yes, you know, for almost double the price, you get, you know, more than double the land. But funnily enough, not a huge difference in the number of trees. These trees do appear younger, probably a little bit more under control in terms of maintenance by the looks of them. They've just flowered like all of the orchards have around here. But that's what 2.45 million would have got you in October 2022. My speculation would be that the price might have dropped after the really shockingly low macadamia price came out in March 23. But look, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm just here to give you the facts, and you can make of them what you will, the same way I do. But when you move in closer to the coast, that kind of value that you're seeing for macadamia farms gets a little bit harder to find, and arguably impossible, because lifestyle components, handiness to the big town centres like Ballina and Byron, proximity to the beach, these things come into it, particularly when you're competing with buyers who are looking for a tree change from more urban climates. So let's go have a look at one of them. So here I am now in Knockrow, another little locality that I've never shown on the channel before. Off in the distance there you can see the ocean if you've got a big enough screen, and the kind of residences you see around here are very, very different to the ones you're going to see around Dunoon, Dorreby, and in fact most other parts of the Northern Rivers. this kind of area, along with Brooklet, Newry Bar, that sort of place. A friend of mine once described it as the Mossman of the Northern Rivers, and I think you can see by the look of this house, that's what's going on there. The actual farm I wanted to show you is unfortunately hidden down a driveway. It's only got 3,000 trees, but it's got a fairly grand residence, a little bit like this one, and an amazing view over the ocean. There aren't that many farms that give you that combination of ocean views, definitely some ocean breezes. It's this farm here, Ballyshore, that yeah, has a nice house, view over the ocean. Only 3,000 macadamia trees, so probably less than both those previous farms I showed you. It went for, wait for it, 6.8 million. And of course, as a macadamia farming proposition, that makes no sense at all, because 3,000 trees will never repay an investment like that. There's obviously, as you can tell, a massive lifestyle component to this particular area, and the macadamia farming side of things is really more on a hobby level than anything else. But look, a nice hobby to have if you've got the money. And this kind of area, Martin's Lane, Knockrow, is breathtaking in the amount of money that I'm seeing going into some of these properties. So, well worth a sticky beak. Sorry I can't show you the farm itself. But that's enough about what's been sold, because in the last year since my 2022 report, you know, I get sick and tired of telling people every year that generally speaking, there just aren't many farms being sold. What's available for sale has changed a lot, and compared to 2022 and definitely the earlier years, there are a lot more farms on the market. And the farms aren't just coming onto the market, they're staying on the market. Believe it or not, the farm I featured in last year's edition, a farm called Loose Goose in Eureka, is still for sale after more than 12 months. And if you believe that, see if you can believe this. The farm I showed in the 2021 annual report is also still for sale, amazingly. And what's happening with these properties is that the price tags that were put on them have been removed. They don't get online and advertise lower prices in general. And in fact, a lot of the farms coming onto the marketplace in the last year have no price tag at all. There's definitely no one going to auction. No one's brave enough to do that in this marketplace because, you know, they think the demand for macadamia farms has dropped. Certainly it seems that way because the farms are staying on the market a long time, but traditionally speaking, farms do stay on the market quite a while before they get picked up. It was only that really overheated property market we had in the earlier 20s, where farms were being snapped up almost as soon as they could get put on the market, and real estate agents had waiting lists of clients longing for their tree change and looking to get in wherever they could. So I found it hard to find you a farm with a price tag, but I did find one. I've brought you now to Uralba, yet another place I've never brought you to on the on the Nutkin Farm channel. Now, Uralba's on the very eastern edge of the Alstonville Plateau, so before you get right into the heart of it, so still probably a little closer to Ballina than it is to Lismore. And this little place is for sale. Well, it's not so little, in fact it's got a great big 5-bedroom house, looks like a bit of an 80s build, but they have 8 acres in total, and the macadamia trees I presume are over here. Only 840 trees. Now, is that a serious macadamia farm? No. Is it a hobby macadamia farm? Absolutely, it'd be a great hobby macadamia farm. It's almost the size of Bruce Chester's farm, and you can see him on the macadamia show. So this is what is on offer. And what's the price? 1.5 million. So it's got the house, got some shed, it's got 840 trees and about 8 acres for that price. And while it's, look, cheapish compared to other macadamia farms I've shown you. It's actually not that far off what farms used to cost quite a few years ago, back in the sort of late teens. The farms used to be bigger for that price, but the difference, I think, between the previous couple of years and now is that you can actually get into a macadamia farm for that kind of price. Either the Dorby one I showed you first up, which went for 1.225, or this one, which has a 5-bedroom house involved, but obviously a much smaller proposition. These are sort of options that are opening up in the market now that haven't been available for a while. Does that mean you should grab one of those options? Well, look, not necessarily. You're not going to make any real business out of an 840 tree macadamia farm unless you really manicure it and love it to bits, like Bruce Chester did with his. He got a reasonable crop out of it. The only way to make money out of that size farm is if you do everything yourself. But on the plus side, the farm is very much the size where you can do everything yourself and reasonably easily. So that's a little bit of an option now. But I'll show you one last option, and it's not priced, but it's fairly typical of the commercial size farms that are on the market now and have been on the market for some time with undisclosed prices. Here we are on one of the prettiest roads in Tregeagle, Molly's Grass Road. We're very much in macadamia territory here on the Alstonville Plateau, and the last property I'm going to show you is a massive sprawling macadamia farm of 100 acres, about 41 hectares, and it has 7,000 macadamia trees. It also has one hell of a long driveway, and some of the acreage isn't for macadamias. It's actually got some pasture for grazing, so you can do multiple kinds of things here. Like the last place I show you, it has a 5-bedroom house, but apart from that, it really is a completely different property. And it's one I've seen for sale only a few years before this, so the reasons for sale are unclear. The price, your guess is as good as mine, and we'll see how long it stays on the market. But 7,000 trees is a very serious farm, and one you'd need some help with, rather than just doing it all yourself, unless you're a real workaholic. Quite an outlook though, and in a very beautiful, fertile area of the Northern Rivers. So what are the lessons we take from that, and what advice could I give anyone looking to come into the Northern Rivers and buy? Well, first of all, don't be too put off by the fact that none of the agents are advertising a price or an auction. They're all feeling their way. No one wants to be responsible for selling at a real discount. A lot of the agents are trying to rely on the fact that there have been so few sales so that they can go back to the sales of 2021 and 2020 to try and talk up purchasers to paying those prices again. My message to you is it's not worth the prices people were paying in 2021 and 2022, but it's also still a bit better than where we were in, say, 2013, 2014, when the macadamia industry was coming out of its last slump, and prices started heading upwards. It's not all to do with the price of macadamias. People want to live here for different reasons, whether it be clean country living or the ability to grow something for tax purposes, or a bunch of different things. Macadamia farming is an absolutely beautiful thing to do, and the size of the farm you take on can be a reflection of how much you want to earn from it, but in particular how much time you want to spend on it, and whether you want to do things yourself or with the help of contractors and others to do most of the hard jobs for you. Navigate the market carefully and try to get some independent advice. I say this every year, but some independent advice will give you an idea of what crop a farm could produce, what price you're likely to get for that crop, and what you're going to have to spend to make the crop. When you're looking at some of the smaller farms in particular, there can be some issues with profitability if you're not doing everything yourself, but there are also some good opportunities for one-man operations which don't involve hiring people, where you can achieve that profitability through lower cost, even though you also have a lower volume of nuts. As always, look, it's a beautiful place to be just to live. And there's certainly worse places you can live in the Northern Rivers than on a beautiful green macadamia farm just like this one. Thanks for watching through my update, everyone. I'll be doing another one next year if I'm still doing these videos. I keep saying that and I keep doing them. And I appreciate you tuning in. Bye for now.